And joining me now to share his insight into this developing situation is David May. He is a research analyst with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Welcome, David. I want to start with the situation in Israel's south. Israel is preparing for an escalation this weekend with the anniversary of the March of Return protests. Now, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he visited the Gaza border earlier today, and he said that the Israeli forces are prepared for anything. Do you think that a large-scale conflict is ahead?
Hi, thank you for having me. There's definitely a possibility for an escalation right now. We've seen in the past few weeks a lot of events heading towards an escalation, and especially when we saw the Hamas rocket that hit an Israeli home just north of Tel Aviv, and the Israeli reaction to that there's been an attempt to try to de-escalate the situation, and they actually accepted Hamas's justification that it was an accident. And so we've seen tensions rising, and especially as you had mentioned with the one-year anniversary of the Gaza Return March this Saturday, there's a strong chance of an increase of tensions.
Egypt has been trying to mediate a long-term ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. How likely is that to succeed? Is there any chance that after this weekend's escalation, we'll just see more calm?
So a lot of the cards are in Hamas's book. They, as we've seen in their 2 weeks ago when they called off the border protests, they have the ability to facilitate and manage these protests as they so choose, and we'll see how they decide to do that on this Saturday. They've already called for schools to close so they can send more kids to the border. It's in both sides' interest to reduce the tensions, but also, as we've seen earlier this month with popular protests against Hamas, they have a certain need to redirect Gazans' anger and their frustration, and the easy target is towards Israel.
Right. Now, regarding the air raid on Iranian warehouses in Syria that we reported earlier near the Aleppo International Airport, this attack is attributed to Israel. There is no confirmation from the Israeli military, the IDF, so far. But if Israel really struck in Aleppo, in an area so far to the north of the country, that's not something we've seen happening many times before. What does it tell you about Israel's defense capabilities and about Iranian entrenchment in Syria?
It's a very good point. One big takeaway is, especially as we've seen from the Golan Heights announcement this past week by President Trump, the desire and the need for Israel to have secure borders, and especially since 2011 with the Syrian civil war raging and jihadist groups on Israel's border, and now additionally increased Iranian entrenchment in the country, we've just seen a further need for Israel to maintain those defensible borders, which in their opinion includes the Golan Heights.
David, in 10 seconds, do you think that Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu is benefiting from the security situation ahead of elections April 9th?
I think national security is an important issue for all Israeli voters, and right or left, and it will just play in to everyone's considerations, but I don't want to comment specifically on Israeli politics as such.
David May, thank you for joining us.